Afternoon, Codger Biker here, and I thought I'd just do a good old-fashioned vlog. Is this the end for Wolfgang 690 Enduro R? Stroke ADV. Okay, well, we've had some summer, but the cloudy skies have returned. Welcome to the UK. I do live in the UK and not Australia, as some of you I think imagine when you're always criticising me for not going off into the bush on my Enduro bike. Only joking. I always appreciate the comments, particularly if I make mistakes. It's good to have an extra set of eyes on everything. Nobody's perfect. I am certainly not. So, could rain in a moment with the look of it, but I just needed to get out for a bit. Stuck in the house, bored. Morning, afternoon, good night, whatever it is. So what I thought I'd do is just kind of go over what's been going on with the channel, for those who are interested, or just generally what's going on with Wolfgang. So in terms of the channel, I'm sure if you are a regular on the channel, you've seen the return of the Camel, which is yeah, something I'd never anticipated. For those of you who don't know, the Camel is a 1984 MZ TS125, which I had from 1984 to 1990, roughly. I can't remember exactly, but that's approximately the dates I had it. Had 50 miles on it when I got it. The story is, some old guy had retired and decided to start riding motorbikes again after a break of about 50 years, and frightened himself to death in the metropolis that is Cleethorpes. So he put the bike up for sale in the local newspaper. I needed something to get to work on. I had no money whatsoever. I didn't even have enough to pay for it. I called him up from a call box, told him what I got, and he said, look, you'll be saving my life, come and get it, you can have it for what you've got. And I think he let me have it for £50 less than he was advertising it for, back when £50 was £50. He also gave me a crash helmet, gloves, and a riding suit, which was absolutely brilliant, kept me dry for years. Initially when I bought that, I thought I'd be using it just for a few weeks. I didn't have much hope for it. It's East German, communist, sort of the equivalent of a Lada, I suppose, if it was a car. But credit to it, what I hadn't realised was the history of the MZ factory, and that, you know, that many of you'll know they had quite a glorious motorcycling history, and the bikes were much better made than it might have appeared. The styling was bizarre. I was quite ashamed riding it about at the time, but it won me over because it always started. So even when I had other modes of transport, I always went to work on that bike because it would start first time. It cost next to nothing to run, and nobody gave a damn about emissions in those days. In fact, if your vehicle wasn't smoking, you thought there was something wrong with it. Fast forward 31 years, I'd started doing this channel, and my friend Sean McNeely, who's also got a channel on Lincolnshire folklore. We both hail from Lincolnshire originally, or at least our formative years, and we've been friends since the first day we started college. And he said to me, why don't you do a film on your old bike? I said, what do you mean? He said, you know, the one I had. I went, what do you mean? And then it came out that he'd abandoned it when he moved to a city in his parents' small holding in a what turned out to be an old pig shed, and it's sat in there for 30 odd years, reasonably protected, but you know, the no heating, so it survived after a fashion, but it was seized when I got it home. Gradually unseized it, got it starting fairly reliably again, almost as reliably as it was back then, almost as though no time had passed. There's quite a lot of parts to change on it, brake shoes, cables, exhaust shot really. I know Sean will tell me it's not because he had it fixed, but that was 30 years ago. I don't know whether it'll ever pass an MOT because the brakes on it are, well, I remember even when it was new the brakes were rubbish, so I had to go at the front brake. I'll document all this on the MZ playlist anyway, so you can look at it if you want to. It's not very popular, I understand that. I would not be interested in it myself if it wasn't for the fact that it was my actual bike. There's a lot of history in that bike, much of which I couldn't go into on this channel, not for public consumption, so that's been quite a nostalgia fest. So that's the MZ story. My own bike, back to me after 31 years, and I'm kind of just light restoration, I think I'd call it. I mean, I'm not sure if the aim is an MOT or not. In 3 years it won't need an MOT. If you don't know, in England we have to have an MOT on our vehicles to so that they're suitable for the road, but for some bizarre reason after 40 years you don't have to get one anymore. Your vehicle still has to be legally safe, but you don't have to take it to a government agency to be checked, which to me is absolutely bizarre. If anything needs checking, it's vehicles of over 40, but anyway, that's the legislation. So that's 3 years from now it will be 40 years old. So I'm just going to play it by ear, see what happens with it, see how far I can get. If anybody likes watching that, it's appreciated. You don't have to watch it, you have to, obviously nobody has to do anything on here. Anyhow, let's get back to what you've probably tuned in for, which is Wolfgang, and where I'm at with Wolfgang, because I'm going to entitle this Wolfgang, is he finished? Question mark. And some people I suppose might interpret that as finished as in no more. He's far from finished in that regard, but I think he's pretty much finished in terms of my ADV project. Of course the bike may be called an Enduro, but I bought it to not convert but lightly transform into an ADV bike, and that's gradually what I've been doing. One of the major things for it that I was concerned about was the just go past this horse. Yeah. Okay. All right. Go past the horse. Sorry. Yeah. So my intention had always been to convert this to a lightweight ADV bike, suitable for the United Kingdom, which is quite different, I suppose, to a lot of places where KTM 690 Enduros tend to live. In the States or Australia or wherever, we just don't have that kind of riding, not close at hand anyway. So basically I need to be able to ride up and down motorways on this bike. This was about the smallest engine that I thought was suitable for that, and it's certainly got plenty of power, just taking it easy on my new tyres. So the power's there, and it's nice and lightweight, which was the other thing I wanted from it, or the primary thing, was I wanted to reduce the weight. Of course I want to go off-road, of course I want to do trails, of course I want to do green laning. If it was up to me, I would never ride on a road again. I would ride, if you've ever seen Harry's Garage, have you seen the bikes on Harry's Garage? That to me is what I would be doing in an ideal world, only I don't own a farm, so I have to get my green laning where I can, and there's no getting around having to travel along A and B roads. So with that in mind, that's how I set about transforming this bike. The final part of the puzzle really has been getting some tubeless tyres for it. Now the tyres were easy to get, they're just EO7 tyres, the same as come on the stock bike. They are tubeless, even though they come with tubes in them. I got the Dakar version of them just because I thought it might be a bit more hard wearing. Not sure if they are or not. But getting the wheels has been an absolute nightmare. Mainly I think due to the political situation in the UK, it's very difficult to import anything. So after several attempts and 7 months, finally I got a set of tubeless rims for it, and the video for that is in the playlist for this bike. If you want to see it, it's in 2 parts. I'm really pleased with them, they look great, and better still, they work. I checked the tyre pressures today after a week. Actually, after 10 days the bike's been standing. I did a 50-mile run on them and then left the bike for 10 days while other things happened, and the tyre pressures have not altered one little bit, so the system certainly seems to work. One thing I have noticed, I've only done, so as I say, about 50 miles on them, they still feel a bit squirrely in terms of grip. Now, they're an off-road tyre, well, 50-50 tyre. There's a little bit of, tiny bit of moisture on the road, not a lot, a little bit greasy, and so I'm just being a little bit careful with these tyres. They've not really come away, but I definitely felt a slight twitch on some sharp bends powering out of them. So another 50 miles I think, and they should be okay. But basically that's what I'm doing today. I'm just riding around, going to see an old field that I know, see what's happening with him, and I'll take you over the bike so you can see what I've done to transform it, in my case, in my opinion, to the best bike I've ever had for what I want to do, which is lightweight ADV. Of course I won't remember everything I've done to the bike, but as I say, it's all in the playlist. Go and have a look. I'll put a link at the end of this video, right at the end. Anyway, let's go and see what's happening with that field. I've seen it for a while. Oh, look at that. Wow, I haven't been down here for months. Last time I came down here it was just a ploughed field. Now look, they're like peas, I think. I don't know, are they peas? I'm no expert on these things. Maybe not. Anyway, just say hello to the field, then we'll look at the bike. Hello field, what is that? What have you got in there? Are they peas or beans? Something like that, aren't they? Wow, you've come on. Yeah, some good crop there with the look of it. And some rain coming, so you'll be alright in a minute. It's up there, look. Hopefully. Okay, so before the rain gets here, let's have a look at the bike. So I suppose if we start at the front I've got XL tubeless wheels, and on the back, so 2 tubeless wheels with tubeless tyres, using a system that is from SM Pro. I'll put a link up to what it was. We've got the Outback Motortech crash bars, which I'm surprised have stayed on. I thought I would have taken those off by now, but they've stayed on, basically because they don't weigh very much. I don't know that I particularly like them, but some people like them, so I've left them on because they didn't weigh very much, and they might just protect the radiator if the bike falls over, which could easily happen. Got the Wings exhaust with the Wings silent kit. There's a video on that, which Gorai's designed over the lockdown, and I'd say absolutely brilliant. You still get the tone of the exhaust, but it's much quieter and just suits me. I know some people want loud exhaust, that's fine, you can have them, it's a world of choice, but with the silent kit, it basically gives you 5 or 6 options of how to configure the exhaust. You can use no dB killer, the louder dB killer, the quieter dB killer, and then any combination of those with the silent dB killer or the cone that fits inside. So there's, I don't know how many permutations, but quite a few. I've just fitted the silent kit as is, and I'm really happy with it. So cheers Gorai, that's brilliant. Yeah, next up, got the KTM bash plate on there, which is just a standard one. Quite happy with that. I've got the lowered foot pegs, which were handmade. I can't remember the name, but I will put it on the video so you can see. There's a video on that. I've got the Scott's damper, which I think is a great thing. I really like that. Beautifully made and fits really well with the Raid Garage fairing, which is all this part of it, which just gives you that extra protection, LED headlights, and just sets the bike off. I mean, I just like it. I like the looks of it. It does cause some turbulence, so I've got a little clip-on spoiler to try at some point when I get around to it. So yeah, I'm travelling down the bike. We've got Perimoto heel guards here, which are on there. I've got a lowered brake pedal foot to match the lowered pegs. The tubeless rear wheel, as you can see. XL rim. Perimoto rack. I've also got the Krieger bags to fit the Perimoto heels, so that when I go away I can take 36 litres of luggage plus the tail pack, which is enough for me for a couple of days. I will be doing that later this month, hopefully, or next month rather. So oh yeah, and also I moved the indicators. Instead of fitting them on here, I fitted them on the bars, and then we've got the flip out mirrors from Rottweiler. That's just about everything. Well, another great thing is to be able to have the GPS up here right in your eye line and on the bar, on the GPS bar, which is much better. These people looking at me talk to myself, which is fair enough, I would do. That's everything, I think. So that's basically all the changes on the bike that I can remember. And so is he finished? That's the question. Well, he's finished in as much as he'll ever be finished for me. There's a couple of things I want to change. I've got Oxford heated grips on. I've got a different version of heated grips to try at some point, but it's our summer at the moment, so there's no rush to do that. I just find those Oxford ones a little bit ugly, so I've got some different ones, but I don't know if I'll be able to fit them due to the narrow space for the grips on this bike. I was thrown a little bit there because I bumped into an old friend. I was talking to her and her husband for quite a long time, and so I think I covered everything. I was just talking about the GPS bracket and how useful that is. It's very useful to have a heads up GPS, so it's not on at the moment, just slides on and off. But I don't really like looking down when I'm trying to navigate, and I'm not a great navigator at the best of the time, so it's useful to have it right where you can see. And I shall be testing that out hopefully in the next few weeks when we do a few longer trips to various places in the UK, because that's what this bike is about, being lightweight and local. Yeah, so just on a footnote, one thing I did think when I first put these tyres on is that they ride felt a bit harder, a bit harsher, but I realised that the place that had fitted them had put the air pressure up to 36. So I've dropped them down to I think 26, which is I think where they're recommended to be on this bike, and that softened it up. So that solved that problem. Also I think they'll soften up over time anyway, because they've got quite stiff sidewalls on the Dakar version. So all is good, except the weather. Look at that, very grey. On that note, I'm going to head off home. Codger Biker is out!